Saturday, December 8th, 2012. In the Laden province of Afghanistan, an elite team of SEAL Team 6 operators close in on a remote Taliban compound to rescue an American hostage. But as the team approach, they're spotted 75 feet out, and the mission quickly spirals into chaos. And with time of the essence, the team quickly breaches the compound in a desperate attempt to save the hostage, who's now seconds away from the Taliban's execution. But before they can, one SEAL charges forward, slamming the executioner against the wall while shielding the hostage with his own body and turning his weapon on all remaining threats. This is the incredible true story of Medal of Honor recipient Edward Byers. In 1998, 19-year-old Ohio-born native Edward Byers enlists in the United States Navy, becoming a hospital corpsman where he gained medical experience before becoming attached to the 2nd Battalion, 2nd Marines. And as a Fleet Marine Force corpsman, Byers deployed with the 26th Marine Expeditionary Unit in 1999, providing medical support during missions. But by 2001, Byers and the world as we know it changed forever, and Byers, in pursuit of justice, decided to take his service to the next level and attended basic underwater demolition SEAL training in 2002, graduating with Bud's Class 242.
It marks the completion of the toughest military training in the world.
From here, Byers would attend and complete both SQT and the Special Operations Combat Medic course. And by 2003, Byers, by all accounts, earned his bird and was officially assigned to a SEAL team and frequently deployed to both Iraq and Afghanistan. And while the Navy SEALs' early missions focused on capturing or eliminating UBL, the teams played a broader role in dismantling Al-Qaeda and Taliban networks, in conjunction with both Delta Force and the CIA as a part of Operation Enduring Freedom. These missions included high-altitude warfare in the rugged Hindu Kush Mountains, where SEALs were often tasked with clearing out entrenched and complex cave systems, with the hunt for UBL always at the forefront. But as the war evolved, so did SEAL operations, and by 2005, their focus had shifted to long-range reconnaissance, sniper overwatch, and direct action raids on both Al-Qaeda and Taliban strongholds, often striking houses in rural Afghanistan under the cover of darkness. And although not publicly disclosed, Byers later joined Naval Special Warfare Development Group, aka DEVGRU, aka SEAL Team 6. This transition marked a significant shift in his operational role and deployment tempo. Unlike conventional SEAL teams, which conducted a mix of maritime, direct action, and counterinsurgency missions, DEVGRU operators were tasked with high-risk, high-priority counterterrorism operations under JSOC, and Byers now found himself at the tip of the spear, conducting some of the most dangerous missions in modern warfare, as the war had evolved from large-scale invasion to surgical, intelligence-driven capture-kill missions, with DEVGRU at the forefront. And with DEVGRU, Byers' deployment cycle intensified, completing over 9 combat tours in Iraq and Afghanistan, all centered around high-value targets, most commonly linked to UBL and Al-Qaeda's senior leadership. In this new era, Byers and his team hunted al-Qaeda and Taliban leaders in direct action raids, night after night, often in deep enemy territory, from highly volatile urban centers and remote mountain hideouts to Taliban-controlled villages. These takedowns slowly but surely helped push the needle forward in pursuit of UBL. As these raids Byers and his team conducted weren't just about attrition, they were about cutting off UBL's lines of communication, finances, and logistics. And by 2010, a single name surfaced, one that floated through intelligence reports for years: Abu Ahmed al-Kuwaiti, a person of interest the CIA had long suspected of being UBL's courier. And through a mix of SIGINT and human intel and data from interrogations at CIA black sites, the agency finally traced al-Kuwaiti's movement to a walled compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, a fortress with no phone lines, no internet, and where all trash was burned on site. Most tellingly, inside that compound was a man who never left, of whom CIA analysts dubbed the Pacer. After months of satellite surveillance, informant reports, and internal debate, the assessment reached the White House, where then-President Obama greenlit Operation Neptune's Spear, and SEAL Team 6 was handed the mission. Byers and his team were already on deployment when the word came down. Red Squadron would be the primary assault force, flying in from Afghanistan under the cover of darkness. And Byers' role was different this time, as he and other elements of his team were designated QRF, a contingency unit standing by in case Red Squadron needed reinforcements or a team to break them out of a Pakistani prison. And on the night of May 1st, 2011, the operation launched. 2 modified MH-60 Blackhawks slipped through the Pakistani border, flying nap of the earth to avoid detection. As they reached the compound, one of the helos lost lift and went down inside the walls. But the SEALs adapted, moving fast, clearing the buildings room by room and floor by floor. And inside the 3rd floor bedroom, bin Laden was finally confronted and double-tapped within seconds. His body was secured, intelligence was gathered, and the teams began their exfil. The entire raid took less than 40 minutes, the culmination of a decade-long manhunt, thousands of operations, and countless sacrifices, and the closure the nation felt echoed throughout nearly every city street.
President Barack Obama made the announcement that Osama bin Laden is dead.
And while an exceptional operation, the real challenge for Byers was yet to come, as 7 months later, deep in the mountains of the Laghman province of Afghanistan, a different kind of mission was unfolding. As Dr. Dilip Joseph, a well-respected American physician and humanitarian working in Afghanistan, providing aid to some of the country's most impoverished and war-torn regions, was captured along with 2 Afghan colleagues by armed Taliban fighters. While traveling back to Kabul in a remote village on December 5th of 2012, the militants dragged the men from their vehicle and marched them into the rugged mountains to a known Taliban stronghold. For days, they were held in a small mud compound, blindfolded, beaten, and interrogated. And the Taliban had one goal in mind: ransom, demanding an exorbitant sum for the release of the American. But as negotiations dragged on, his execution became more likely by the hour. U.S. intelligence believed he could be moved deeper into enemy territory, or even smuggled across the border into Pakistan, where rescue would be nearly impossible. The call was made, and SEAL Team 6 were asked to go all in right away. But planning the rescue of Dr. Joseph wasn't just difficult, it was a gamble. Every factor that could complicate a mission was in play. Time was running out, the terrain was unforgiving, and the intelligence was uncertain, and the enemy were deeply entrenched. The first and most immediate challenge was time, as by this point, Joseph had already been held for 3 days, and the Taliban had a history of executing hostages when negotiations stalled. Then, there was the location itself. It wasn't just about getting there, it was about getting out once the shooting started. Any kind of rapid extraction would be near impossible if things went wrong. Complicating matters even further were the Taliban's layered defenses. This wasn't just a handful of men with AKs. They were dealing with a well-experienced, and well-armed enemy, likely equipped with RPGs and IEDs. A firefight was almost guaranteed, and the team had to assume the Taliban would be at their worst. The helicopters lifted off, cutting through the freezing Afghan night, and inserted the operators just outside the Laghman province, where they hiked for over 4 hours across rugged terrain to reach the compound. Upon arrival, approximately 75 feet from the compound, they were detected by an armed guard, and the engagement began. With no time for stealth, the first SEAL in the staff, Chief Petty Officer Nicholas Czech, raced and breached the front door, and from an instant burst of gunfire, he was hit and dropped immediately. But Byers and his team couldn't hesitate. It was on, and Byers was the next operator through the door, and immediately took violence of action to the Taliban. And as gunfire flashed in the pitch-black room, and in the midst of the chaos, Byers heard a voice speaking Pashtun. Someone inside was preparing to kill Dr. Joseph. Byers reacted instantly, tackling an enemy fighter and pinning him to the wall by his throat. As he held the man down, he used his body as a human shield, physically protecting Dr. Joseph from incoming fire. In those critical seconds, Byers confirmed the hostage's identity while still restraining the enemy. But then, another Taliban fighter rushed them with an AK. Without letting go of Dr. Joseph, Byers reached for his sidearm and dropped him. With the room now cleared, Byers escorted the hostage to the exit and passed him off to his team. But before they could exfil, Byers had one final task: getting Czech. Despite the heavy enemy presence outside, Byers returned to the kill zone and fought his way to Czech, grabbing his wounded teammate and dragging him to the extraction point. From there, Byers and his team fought their way out, carrying both Dr. Joseph and the mortally wounded Czech. By the time the team reached the helicopter, the mission was over. Dr. Joseph was alive, but Chief Petty Officer Nicholas Czech had succumbed to his wounds.
The latest on that daring rescue mission in Afghanistan to free an American doctor held hostage by the Taliban. We've learned that an American hero died during that operation, a member of the elite SEAL Team 6. ABC's Martha Ryan.
Dr. Dilip Joseph returned to the United States and continued his work with Morningstar Development, the international aid group he was serving in Afghanistan. Byers saved a hostage's life within minutes, eliminated multiple enemies, shielded Dr. Joseph with his own body, and dragged his fallen teammate out of an overrun compound for his instinctive bravery. On February 29th of 2016, Senior Chief Edward Byers was awarded the Medal of Honor.
Died to save your life.
He died to save my life. It is hard to live with that idea of somebody died for my sake. The best you can do is honor them through your life. And that's exactly what I want to do.